Becoming good at cinematography doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe you're thinking, if only I had a new camera, if only I had a few more lights, maybe when I get the cinema lens, finally everything will change. I used to think the same, and to be fair, camera brands really want you to believe that. But here's the truth. It's a lie. And to prove that to you, today I'm gonna show you that even with minimal gear, you can create strong cinematic images. Here's the thing. When you do the type of documentary work that I do, oftentimes you're limited with the amount of gear that you can bring. Small budgets, logistics, small crews, and so on. But here's what I learned. Every limitation can be turned into an opportunity for growth in filmmaking and in life. If you learn to work with what is in front of you instead of wishing for what you don't have, you will get ahead of most people because you're dealing with the present moment rather than worrying your mind with the future and with the possibility. So these few shots that I'm going to break down were shot in 2022 in Buenos Aires, and it was a short documentary I shot about a bicycle messenger. I shot this with a camera from 2020, Lumix S1, with vintage lenses, so two Canon FD lenses, 24 and 50mm, and a monitor. That's it, so very minimal setup. So this first image is our character standing inside a room next to the window. If you're working as a documentary filmmaker or a cinematographer, windows are the name of the game. As you can see, this is all natural light, is very soft on his face, around here. And the way the light is coming in is through a window, it's coming from here, but it's not a direct sunlight. Because the sun at this hour is very low, it's just behind the horizon and the buildings are blocking it. So this is just an ambient light coming from the outside, shot early in the morning. And as you can see, it gives us a nice eye light and it creates this beautiful soft light on his skin. Now the other thing that I'm using here is the darkness of the room. I'm not exposing for the shadows, but I'm exposing for the outside. That way what happens is that everything inside is pretty dark, and that's creating a nice contrast ratio, and it's giving the image this cinematic look. Now we have a second image here. This is from the same room, same window, same character, different time of the day. This is a wider shot. As you can see, we are using the window to frame the character, and we are having a lot of contrast, a lot of darkness inside the room. Once again, we are exposing for the outside. So always exposing for what we can't control, which is the outdoors in this case. And this is not a direct sun either. I believe the sun at this hour is around here, behind the buildings or shining through this long street. And the light is actually bouncing from these bright buildings. So it's more of an ambient light again. And as you can see, we are getting this nice edge here. Then we have darkness. We have more light here, which is bouncing from outside. And overall, one of my favorite images from the film. Simple method, using the window to frame the character, exposing for the outside, and shooting in the right time of the day. I'm gonna go through these images quite fast, guys, so that I can show you that these principles are repeatable across projects, across locations, and they are simple, you know? It's simple principles that you can apply on any shoot. So the next shot, again, same film, same room, different composition. This time we are shooting the character against a white wall. This is a moment of contemplation for the character. And this is something you always have to think about with cinematography. How should the scene feel? What are you trying to communicate emotionally, rather than going for sensation and creating, you know, beautifully sculpted images? But in this case, we are trying to show, or I am trying to show, a little bit of contemplation. The character is a little sad, he's thinking about his life, about the fact that he lost his father, and so he's sitting inside his room against a white wall, and the light is coming from the window, right here, same window as you saw in the previous frames. This is again an ambient light, and it's giving us these bright parts on the character. We are shooting on the shadow side, and we are getting all this shadow here, 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 here on the wall. And then here we used some curtains to block the light, so we also created shadow on this side. That way we are getting this kind of a nice vignette in the middle, and we've put the character inside that vignette. So that was first project 2022, everything shot just using windows in one room. Alright, next scene is from a film I DP'd in 2024 in the French Alps with a classical painter, and this film is not out, it's going through festivals right now, but I'm gonna show you just a few frames here. So we have this frame, which is the character going over some old paintings and books. As you can see, we have a big window right here, which has some sort of a diffusion on it, and we didn't add that. This is a diffusion that the painter has on the window because he needs soft natural light to paint. So this was already in the space. Then we have this exact light hitting character's face and creating this beautiful fall off with a little triangle here, Rembrandt, you know, hitting here, hitting a little bit on the wall in the back, hitting on the table, all of these brighter parts of the image. We are super lucky that the studio of Toby is so beautiful and so artistic, because that really helps, you know, the art direction that he basically does in his studio just helps us a lot. And then we're shooting on the shadow side again, you know, we have all this shadow here. I don't even think we needed to use a negative fill because inside of the studio is a little darker. We have all the wood creating darkness, you know, darkness, darkness, darkness here, darkness here. So just natural light, beautiful portrait. I'm really proud of this one as well. Even though it wasn't my doing, I just framed it, the light was there, the interior design was there. And I'm gonna show you that if you have a big light source like this window, you can just leverage that for the whole scene, because we then have a shot here, which is basically the same shot, just a different perspective. I think 50mm lens or something like that, shooting through something in Toby's room. You can see it over here. I think it's a bar. And then the light is doing the same thing, you know, a lot of darkness here, here, here. And then the light hitting Toby, sculpting him here, here, you know, we have bright parts here. The image is reflecting a little bit, and light even touching over here. Now another example of the same scene, and this time it's not a face, but Toby's hands as he's making some notes. Same lighting, it's just literally reversing the camera, changing the perspective. The light coming from the window is hitting beautifully here. We're shooting on the shadow side, so that way we're getting all this darkness here, a bit of here. We have a bit of foreground, which is Toby's head. We have beautiful dark wood. We have this little magnifying glass, which is a great element in the frame. And yeah, all this done just with natural light. This was shot on my Kinefinity camera and 24-70. Not a big setup. Yes, camera with a nice sensor with color science, but these days almost any mirrorless camera gets you a good image. Now, as I'm talking about these images, guys, I wanted to let you know that I've turned off all ads on my videos, because I myself don't like watching ads, and also I don't know what is promoted to my audience. And for that reason, I'll just slide in my own ad. So I recently launched a Patreon channel, which is about providing affordable and accessible education for filmmakers and cinematographers globally. And on this Patreon, I basically break down my projects in depth. So I write monthly articles, and with each article I dive deeper into one of my productions. Last article was written about this project in the Alps. It's 4,000 words, and I break down the whole project day by day with insights, with know-how, with reflections on the project. And the next article I'm going to be writing is going to be about this feature Congo documentary, which was shot over 22 days. And there's a lot to talk about, you know, from preparation, the obstacles on the journey, how do you shoot in difficult environments such as Congo, in jungles, how do you make sure that the equipment is safe, and of course cinematography and directing choices. Apart from these articles, I also host monthly live calls, so these are either Q&A or I invite a guest speaker. And next month I'm going to be doing a live color grading session. It's only $10 a month, and you get everything that I just mentioned. Everything's organized into libraries, so you can watch the content at your own pace. And by supporting Patreon, by joining the community there, you're also supporting the creation of these videos and creation of projects in the future. Now, back to the video. I'm gonna show you more window and nature lighting later, but now let me show you some practical lights, because we have a good example from a feature documentary I shot in 2024 in Congo. Here we have a wide shot of a car, and this is shot during the blue hour. You can see that there's some light in the sky, and then we have the lights of the car shining through. This creates a nice leading line with the road. You know, this is the line of light that leads towards the Jeep, and then we have the light inside the Jeep. Now, the light inside the Jeep is not practical. This is a small RGB light. I think it's either a tube or aperture MC11, but it looks very realistic, because I think there was actually a small light, but it was too weak. So what I did, I just put a small RGB light in. That way I could, use the frame of the window and make sure that we are seeing the characters in the car. Otherwise, it will be just dark. So this is a nice little trick that you can use, where you're just kind of supplementing the practical lights. And it's great to do this when it comes to documentaries, because you are not over dramatizing anything. You're kind of just supporting the story. And again, we have a lot of darkness here coming from all the bushes and from the night that is falling onto the scene. Now, let me show another one, which is the same example using practicals and a little trick. So as you can see, this scene here, this is the guys taking their backpacks from the back of a pickup. Now they have these little headlamps, which are practical lights in the scene. And then we have this red light that is all over their bodies. Now this light, theoretically, that could be brake light of the Jeep, because these Jeeps sometimes have lights also on the top of the cabin from the back. Our Jeep didn't have that, so what I did was I used an RGB light. I think I've put the MC11 on red color, and I just magnetically stick it to the Jeep. That way I could see the characters as they're picking their backpacks and then walking into the night. Again, super small trick, but it can help you make the scene look realistic, but also making sure that you can see the character in and what is happening. Now here we have one more image, a wide shot. This time Toby is getting into one of the refuges, and this was shot at blue hour when there was sort of a snowstorm. And again, this is a nice use of practicals. You can see that Toby is wearing a headlamp, and in my opinion, the headlamp is selling this image. Because if he wouldn't have it, he would just be sort of a dark silhouette in the frame, and he could blend much easier with the rails that we have in here, which are, I think, creating great leading lines. From both sides, we kind of have a stair rails leading to Toby. We can see him that he's gonna come up this way. We have a bit of a foreground here, and that little headlamp here is just making him pop and bringing your attention to that figure in the snowstorm. Now let me show you one more example of using a little RGB light. So this is a shot from a film I'm currently editing. I shot this in Nepal last year, and this is a yak herder sitting in front of a fire in his tent. The fire is there. The only thing I did here, I used again small RGB light turned into the fire effect, just to bring a little bit more light on his face, because otherwise he was a little too dark. The light from the fire was hitting his face, but it was a little too dark. So all I did was I supplemented this a tiny bit. I think the light was on like 10%, that's it. And it created an image that I'm actually really proud of. Other than that, you can see there's a lot of darkness because the tent was black. Character is wearing dark jacket. We have all this darkness here. And then we have an early morning light outside. Alright, one more image from Nepal. This time I'm filming one of the Sherpas as he's in his hut doing his little meditation prayer. As you can see, we have light perfectly sculpting his face, hitting his outfit, and a little bit of light hitting here also. The rest also behind him, so that separates him a little bit. And then we have a lot of darkness in the image. This is once again, just natural light, using the location to our advantage. I'm going to show you the location right now. This is the location. And as you can see, what is hitting him is actually this window, light coming through the window. There is a plastic bag over the window, so it's diffusing it. We didn't put it there, it was already there. And then we have a bit of these white bags all over here, which is supplies. And that actually works a bit like a bounce. So also the light coming from here is bouncing back at the character. That's giving us this sort of a big source of light coming into his face, sculpting him. And then the rest is darkness, you know, dark wood all over here, darkness here because we're shooting on the shadow side over here. Yeah, so no lights, just lucky. We were lucky with the location, and then learning how to read the location and positioning the character correctly. Let's move to another project. So this is a frame from a feature documentary I shot in Congo. And in this scene, the character has just got into the country. First time in Congo, he's in a hotel room. He's kind of confused, getting ready to go, but you know, it's a rough place. He's not in a luxury hotel, and so it reflects that. As you can see, he's probably standing again in front of a window. We are getting the window reflected in his eyes. We are getting this nice soft light here on his arm, back in the wall. And if we then contrast it with the shadows, so we are getting darkness around here, here, around here, and then we are getting darkness all over here. So we are kind of, you know, moving between darkness and light, and that creates a good contrast in the image, and it gives it that cinematic quality. Now, this is just natural light, nothing else, and I'm gonna show you the wide shot now. This is the wide shot of the same scene, and as you can see, window is serving as a key light. We have ambient light coming inside the room. The light in Africa is beautiful because you always have sort of an overcast, and so it's just a soft light. It's like a huge softbox in the sky. So we're getting that inside through the window. And again, as you can see, the room, we're getting a bit of light here, light on the character. We're getting a little bit of light here. You know what? Actually, this might be a power window. So I've created this subtle power window to amplify that light on the wall. And then we're getting a lot of darkness inside the room because the room is dark, you know, brown walls, couch, I don't know what is this, a table, and we have nice curtains that were already inside the room. And this is it. This is the wide shot. As I said, it serves the purpose of the story. And that's the most important when you're working as a cinematographer and as a documentary cinematographer. The scenes and the cinematography should reflect the story. And yeah, so these would be the breakdowns. I went through everything very quickly because I wanted to show you that these principles are easy, replicable, and they're just about learning to work with natural light, learning to use windows, learning to work with practical lights, or creating an effect of practical lights. And as you can see, this was shot across countries: Congo, France, Indonesia, Argentina, and Nepal. So 5 different countries, different scenarios, different locations, different stories. But each of these frames, I think, represented what we wanted to create, and it helped us to tell the story better, which is really the most important thing. Now, if you would want to learn more cinematography principles, simple principles, then I think you will enjoy this video over here, which I made recently, where I explain 5 cinematography principles that you can add to your skill set, and by learning them, you will improve your cinematography over time. Now that's it from me for today. Don't forget to check the Patreon, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.